everyone, I'm back again with Darwin Diary Stories. Before I begin, I would like to quickly recap the things that I have discussed yesterday so that I can move ahead with the story. So, before I begin, I would like to ask you a few questions. I hope you all know what is an iguana, what is a crab, and what is an albatross. So I don't need to explain you again. So those who don't know and those who have not followed my class yesterday, for them let me just tell you, iguana is actually a kind of lizard. It's a Spanish word which comes from West Indies language. Okay, I repeat, it's a Spanish word which comes from a West Indies language. It's a kind of lizard, and we all know what is a crab. I don't need to explain you again. Next is an albatross. Albatross is a very large white oceanic bird with long narrow wings found mainly in the southern oceans. Albatross is a very large chiefly white oceanic bird with long narrow wings found mainly in the southern oceans. Okay. Then I have discussed about Charles Darwin. We all know who is Charles Darwin. He was a naturalist. What do you mean by naturalist? I have also discussed that. Naturalist is a person who studies or is an expert in natural sciences. So like natural sciences means geology, botany, that deals with science and nature. Okay. So now we are going to start and we are going to talk about James, who is probably chosen as an assistant to Darwin, and we are going to talk here about this diary. Okay, Charles Darwin diary on the origin of species. Okay, it is narrated by 10-year-old James Kincaid through a series of entries in his diary. Okay, so it's a kind of diary that we are going to go through in this particular story called Darwin Diaries. As the name itself suggests, it's a Darwin's diary. Okay, his experiences that probably we are going to know from James, who worked as his assistant. Whose assistant class? Darwin's assistant. Okay, then we have spoken about HMS Beagle. What is that class? What do you mean by HMS Beagle? I have discussed that it was a ship of the Royal Navy. It was a ship of the Royal Navy. Okay, so I have already discussed all these things. Then I have discussed about Galapagos Island. If you have missed my yesterday's class, I am here today. I am repeating it so that you don't miss out anything. So Galapagos Island is a volcanic archipelago in the Pacific Ocean. It is considered as one of the world's foremost destinations for wildlife viewing. Its isolated terrain shelters a diversity of plant and animal species many found nowhere else. So Charles Darwin, in the year 1835, he visited this Galapagos Island, and his observation from this Galapagos species later inspired his theory of evolution. Actually, he was inspired by this Galapagos species. There he found different kind of species. Okay, and this diary, this extract, James now 15 recounts their voyage to the Galapagos Island between 15th September and 20th October 1835. So this line is important. If you are listening to me, please mark. We are going to read. It's a diary, so dates are very important. Since it's a Darwin's diary, so it's very important that you note the date. So the date here is mentioned clearly. We are going to read about the time period of 1830 to 1836 and from 15th September to 20th October 1835. Okay, we are going to read about 1835 20th October. Okay, let's just begin. I have already discussed about Darwin's experiences to Galapagos Island. Then I have discussed about Chatham Island. It's also an archipelago in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so all these things we've already discussed. If you have missed out anything, kindly listen to my recorded video. It's already there in your Wasum app. So please follow that. We will start from the third part. The barrenness of the land is deceptive. The barrenness of the land is deceptive. The sea around Chatham Island is swarming with fish, sharks, and turtles. Underline, those who are listening to me, please underline this. The sea around Chatham Island is swarming with fish, sharks, and turtles. So, what are the species that you can find here? There were fishes, there were sharks, there were turtles. Okay, next. The crew had been enjoying themselves fishing. So the crew members who went to that particular voyage along with James and Mr. Darwin, what were they doing? They were enjoying themselves fishing. So if you are listening, please mark it. This is also important for short questions. You might get questions. What were the crew members doing? The crew members were fishing. Okay, the birds are unaccustomed to human company here, so this is also important. So here the birds are unaccustomed to human company. They, since it's an isolated, I have told you this Galapagos Island is an isolated terrain shelters, and here diversity of plants and animal species are found, which you will not found somewhere else. Okay, so here this diversified animal species, they are not accustomed to this human company here. They hop up very close, ignoring the pebbles that are being thrown at them. It is even possible to prod or catch them. Prod means to poke it with finger, foot, or a pointed object. They came so close to human species, to human company, that you could easily touch them. You could easily touch them. Okay, or you can catch them if you want. You can catch them and you can just take them back home. It was something like that. The experience of Darwin was something like that. Okay, next, part 4. Today we came across the sea-going iguana. I have already discussed at the beginning of the story what do you mean by iguana, but again I am repeating, it's a lizard. It's a lizard. It's a Spanish word. It's a Spanish word which means a lizard. Okay. This creature swarms in its hundreds over the rocks. The iguana is very tame. Okay, tame is what? What do you mean by tame? Which you can keep it as a pet. Which you can keep it as a pet. Okay. It will put up with being prodded and poked. It will put up with being prodded and poked. Mr. Darwin even picked up one, swung it around his head, and threw it into a rock pool. It just picked itself up again and waddled back to where it had been lying. So you can see the characteristic features of iguana. They are very stubborn. They will come back to their original places even if you just throw them into the rock pool. Okay, even if you just throw them into the pool, they will come back waddling and they will come back to where it had been lying as if nothing had happened. Okay, so it's like you're picking it up and you're throwing back into the pool, but it's coming again back to its original place. Okay, Mr. Darwin threw it back into the rock pool. When the creature returned, it repeated the operation. Okay, so but what was happening? Darwin was constantly putting it back into the rock pool and the creature was coming back. So the same thing was repeated. He repeated the operation. Okay, so operation here means the process. Here operation means the process. What was the process that was going on? Mr. Darwin, he was just picking up the iguana and throwing it into the rock pool, but the iguana was again coming back to its original place from where Darwin has picked it up. Okay, so it's a repeated process. Okay, once again the iguana plodded back to its place. So what is the meaning of plodded? Walk slowly with a lot of effort. Okay, so Darwin concluded that whereas European lizards have learned to fear men, these iguanas have failed to develop their heredity instinct. What is you mean by heredity? That which can be passed on from one generation to the other through the genes. A natural ability that causes instinct means a natural ability that causes an animal or a human being to behave in a certain way. without having to learn from somewhere else. Okay, so that is the instinct. So what he is trying now, what Darwin is doing, after observing this repeated process of throwing into the pool and coming back to the original process, he has come to the conclusion that this European lizards and this iguanas are completely different. Okay, they have not learned, they have not developed, and they have not developed any heredity instinct. The European lizards are usually scared of human beings, whereas iguanas are completely not. They are not at all scared of human beings, and rather he concluded that they do not have any heredity instinct also. The iguana saw the side of the rock pool as a safe sanctuary, so it kept returning to it, even though Mr. Darwin insisted on throwing it back into the pool. So, this entire part 4 is very important. You can see the features of iguana. You can learn from here how does iguana behave. So we have come to know that iguanas are they don't have any heredity instinct. They are very stubborn. Probably they tend to return to their original places. Why they return to their original places? Because they find that the rock pool is a safe sanctuary. Okay, the site of the rock pool as a safe sanctuary, so they come there again and again. In spite of being thrown back into the pool, they prefer to come back to the side of the rock pool as a safe sanctuary. Okay, so this is exactly what Darwin's observation after when he came to this particular island called Chatham Island. Okay, Chatham Island. Okay, so this was his observations regarding iguana. So if you are interested about iguana and you want to know something about iguana, you might get questions in your exam about iguana. So this part 4 is important. So if you're listening, please mark it and go through this entire paragraph carefully. Okay. Next, some while later, we came across the land's biggest inhabitants, the huge Galapagos tortoises. We had been trudging through the weedy vegetation when we came across a kind of path between the cinders and the cacti. Turning up one of these paths, we finally met a pair of tortoise face to face. They must have weighed at least 200 pounds each. Okay. So next what happens, they come across tortoises. What do they come across? They come across tortoises. Okay, first it was Alfonso, then it was extremely sorry, first it was iguana. Okay, then it was tortoises. They came across a pair of tortoises. Okay, a pair of tortoises, and they were very much heavy weighted. Okay, next, as we approached, one was eating a cactus, the other gave a grumpy hiss and walked away. I tried riding its back, though the tortoise did not seem at all concerned or even aware that I was perched on its shell. I was unable to balance and keep slipping off and landing with a thump. Okay, so just you can see the picture. This boy called James is trying to sit on the shell of the tortoise. Okay, he's trying to sit and enjoy the tortoise rice, but somehow he could not manage to do so. He was slipping from there. Okay, but this tortoise was least bothered. Who is riding on him? He's least concerned about what is going on. Okay, next, turning his path, finally pair of tortoises, and I was perched on his shell. I was unable to balance and kept slipping off and landing with a thumb. Midshipman King also had to go at riding the tortoise, but he ended up swaddled in an inelegant heap just I had. An officer in the Royal Navy. Okay, midshipman King also had to go at riding the tortoise, but he ended up swallowed in an inelegant heap just I had, without grace. Okay, so this midshipman also wanted to have a tortoise ride, but he also could not manage it up. They slipped it and they could not balance it properly. So that's all for today. I will be back again with the rest of the parts tomorrow. Please cooperate with me. Thank you.